I'll make a motion that we,
So the motion from Councilor Ross is to. accept
Can you
the-
all speak up a little bit more? People can't hear you.
Okay, yeah. So the motion on the floor is to confirm the November 28th and the December 10 meeting minutes. Can I have a second? Go ahead. If I'm going too fast. Sorry, who was first? Councilor Ross. Item number. And Councilor Rohan second.
Got it.
Okay.
Confirmation of the minutes. Yeah.
Any discussion? Mover?
Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, go ahead.
I know on the first minutes, Bob had mentioned that item 17, he had left the room. And I don't see it noted on that.
Can you speak up?
Yes,
Okay.
on 7.2 on the first set of minutes,
Okay,
Bob had left the room because of the conflict. I know you mentioned it last time.
Yeah.
yes, okay. So 7.2, the human resources manual changes.
Right.
So the,
Yeah, it's not noted. that
yeah, it's not noted that Council
So-
Brown actually did vacate the council chamber, so we need that change just as a,
Just amended.
on 7.2 on the November 28th. Good point.
And also,
It's not
the,
gonna-
it won't be carried unanimously
Yeah.
either.
It'd be a 4-0.
So do I? Well, just, yeah.
Good point
just say
there,
that it's
Councilor.
the actual
Well,
to
he had
reflect
mentioned it last time, so.
that,
You,
that.
you okay?
Okay, so
should be
yeah.
put
are we
in.
approving those minutes with the one revision that Councilor Brown left the chamber for the one HR
It's 7.2.
7.2 and that it's not, wasn't unanimous?
Yeah, the vote was 4-0. I still remember we all.
Yeah.
We all did.
So that'll just be a friendly amendment.
Yeah.
For Terry.
I'll make the friendly amendment and that we adopt the minutes of the November 20 meeting with those noted changes that Councilor Brown vacated the chamber and it wasn't a unanimous vote.
Okay, good. Thanks a lot there, Charles. Okay, so now with that, we'll take this to vote. All in favor to accept.
Because it's okay with the second.
Oh, yes. Oh, are you okay with the friendly amendment? Yeah. I'm sorry. Good catch there. Yeah. So we're okay with the friendly amendment. We'll call for the vote. All in favor? Carried. So
Yeah,
we did have a request from the audience and sometimes my hearing is not the greatest, so we'll try to speak up.
is, I thought we'd maybe do a test. Can people who are watching online hear us? See, somebody could put in the chat whether you can hear me.
Good. Okay.
Yeah, okay, good. Okay, so the next would be point 3, the
yeah.
adoption of the agenda. There are a couple of additions. And
I'll get you to read over the additions that came in late.
yeah, so there's an addition of a request from Marie to move the meeting for January to up 1 week to January 10th from the current 17th. There's also an addition of the new date for the tax sale that came in today for to be on February 6th, 2023. And that is in the, there's also the addition of a report from the interim, myself, interim CAO. And there is also a draft agreement for review from Brandon Fire and paramedic service for the fire contract to be received. And I think that's all the additions. No, the Zoom meeting policy was on there, so we don't have to add that.
Okay.
So that's everything, yeah.
So I'll ask the CEO, so where do you want us to put the meeting of January? Is that under new business? Where do you want?
So we've got, it's in the agenda under, just a minute now, the tax sale.
No, the meeting, meeting request I requested yesterday
Oh,
to move the January meeting from the 17th back to the 10th, move it up 1 week.
mhm.
So where do you want it on the agenda? Because we'll have to insert it so we know we're following.
Oh, I see what you're saying, yeah.
You just tell us and I'll just put on a piece of paper here.
Yeah, I think we could deal with it after 11.4,
After 11.4.
if that's okay.
Yep, fine. Okay with it.
And then the tax sale is on there under 11.1, tax sale date resolution.
Okay,
Um,
your report.
my report is under 7.1.
So it's on here already?
Yeah,
Okay, oh, so okay, that's on here already. then.
yeah, I just
Yeah, okay,
didn't
no
add
problem.
your request yet. And then I had put the Brandon Fire agreement on there. I'm just trying to find out where.
Are we just receiving that or are we dealing with it?
Just receiving it because it'll have to go into the budget, which would be dealt with in January. So we could receive the Brandon Fire under communication. Maybe that's where I
Well-
put it actually.
Because it's an agreement, why don't we deal with it after the tax sale? Because your report, it comes before that, why don't we deal with it and receive it? It's an
Sure.
agreement, I'm not sure if it's a public document.
Yeah, I don't know either. It's
I
an
haven't seen it. so-
agreement between the city and
Is it
RM for
confidential?
fire service. I don't think so.
If it's confidential, we can't share it, so we have to be careful. I don't mind making it public, but if there's confidential information in there, we have to be very
Add
careful.
it to the in-camera session and we can. look
Yeah,
at
you
it
could add that to the,
Okay.
yeah, why don't you do that?
Yeah,
Because there's a.
we need to review it thoroughly, then we can make it public, maybe at the next meeting. But it's why don't we do that? In camera?
Yeah.
We'll go in camera. Okay. So you've got that there, you'll remind us to go in camera then when we get there.
Yeah, the
Okay.
in-camera comes right at the end, so it's after, if there's any inquiries, we go in camera, and then it's, once the closed camera, it's adjourned.
Okay, so now we'll adopt the agenda with these additions. Gonna have a mover to adopt the agenda with the addition. Okay, got Council Grohan making a motion to approve the agenda with the additions that the CEO just advises of. Can I have a seconder?
I can second.
Council Maxwell, second. Does anybody have any questions on the agenda with the additions?
You just said the date. That's the date of our meeting, the tax sale. And the date, we will go into 13-1 in camera.
Yeah,
And what was the other one?
my
It's your-
report,
Oh, your report. Okay, so where did that go? 11-1?
It's on
oh,
the,
7.1.
Oh, you got it on there.
I got it under communications.
Yeah. And then we'll get the fire agreement, okay?
Under 7.
So I'll. Anybody else have any questions? If not, I'll call for the question. All in favor? Carry.
So next on the agenda is public hearings. So we have a few here. We have the Time subdivision, which was revised and resubmitted through community planning to council, and
But
the,
I would put I had points to put down.
The book.
So
I'm
I was
reading
waiting
talks
for
about
that
the
one
creation of
round
rates.
to go around before I could.
Have somebody turn off their mics, guys, in the audience?
I muted that person there. Okay, mute. Everybody's muted now.
Yeah, to the CEO, we.
So be
Yeah,
it
just-
resolved that council table the Time subdivision for further study and consultation with Keystone Planning and Community Planning on the variations of the area.
Yeah, no, I'll just correct it there. It's not a public hearing. It's a resolution. Public hearing would mean we'd open the floor for people, but this is not a public hearing. It's just a resolution and no problem there. The CEO is just, we got a learning curve here. So the motion is on the floor with the CEO just right over. So can we have a mover to? For that?
Can you read it again?
So the background is that the Times subdivision was revised and the application was resubmitted and went through community planning. Community planning has a couple of suggestions or, for council to review. And the resolution is that council tables the Time subdivision for further study and consultation with Keystone Planning and Community Planning on the variations of the area.
So I'll motion.
Go ahead.
I guess I'll wait for a second there.
Yeah, okay. Can we have a second here? Okay, so go ahead, Councillor.
My question is, can we put a date on that? That we're tabling it to?
January the 11th.
Is that,
Yeah, I think that's fair. Okay. Or January the 10th, I'm sorry, for the next regular scheduled council meeting. Once we get into debate, I'll explain.
Mhm.
Yeah, okay. You got something?
I was just gonna say that, that application to subdivide recently went through some changes, and the lot sizes have shrunk a little bit now that there's sewer in Chater. And so we just have to do some checks on the variations to make sure that the frontages of the lots are adequate for zoning.
Yeah, that's a great explanation. Councillor Ross, you got something there to second? Anybody else? Anybody, you got something, Rob?
I can't get on the computer.
Yeah, actually, so Bob,
Um,
I'll just make a comment there. Bob and myself have been on this council before when this application came through. What happened there, just for the audience sake? The developer in Chater has, I'm gonna say 15 or 18 lots left. And what he wanted to do is, he put in an application last fall to downsize the lots where the sewer and the water is. But what he also included was 7 to 8 lots on the other side of the road, and previous council said, no more holding tanks. There's the property on the east side doesn't have water or sewer, and he wanted to subdivide, I believe, 7 or 8 lots. And we advised the developer here in the last few months, no, he has to basically pull those lots off his application, which he did. So now we're back to square one on his original application. The 15 to 18 lots that he has, he's gonna downsize them. They were fairly good sized lots, but with sewer and water coming, we went through community planning. They're in support of, but they just raised a flag when we met with community planning the other day for Keystone Planning to work with administration, just to make sure, like Councillor Ross said, that the side yards and the frontage meet the area's requirements. So we're not rejecting it, we're just making sure that when we do go approve it, that we put conditions in there that all the requirements are met, and the CEO will work with community planning and next door Keystone Planning to make sure that happens. So we're just making sure, we don't want to rush. We've got to make sure we're putting the right conditions on there. That's in summary. So does anybody else have anything to, what it's also going to do for people online in Chater and in residents, it's going to add 8 extra lots when there is sewer and water out there. Which means more revenue at the end of the day if those lots sell. So if nobody else has anything, I'll call for the question. All in favor? Carried.
who was the second? Was Ross?
Councillor Ross moved it, Councillor Rohan.
Okay.
Yeah, and gives you the authorization to work with community planning
Okay.
and the Keystone.
So the next one is the Whittingham subdivision, and they're here tonight. So would we call that a public hearing?
Well, no, it really isn't a public hearing. We've got the application before us. And we can give them the opportunity. We've got all the information in front of us, and there's a resolution here to move forward with it.
So they're here if we have any questions.
Yeah, if we have any questions.
The resolution is be as a result, the council approves the Whittingham subdivision as there are no concerns from various government departments.
Can I have a motion for that?
I'll have a motion to accept this
Application?
application with the condition that the 2 lots must remain as agriculture.
Put that in there. Can we have a seconder?
I'll second.
Councillor Maxwell. Go ahead, Councillor Brown.
Yeah, no, just that it's, I tell you the truth, I'd like to let Mr.
Yep.
Whittingham explain
Yep.
what they're trying to do.
I'm open. Yeah,
So,
right,
yeah,
right ahead.
it's better for them to try and
Yeah.
explain everything better, so.
Yeah. Judy Whittingham, Basically, it's an estate and we're finishing off the estate into the two pieces. But we are farming that piece of land as well as renting out it. And right now, if it stays in all four of our names, our lawyer is not prepared to let us let Harold build a shop. And we just received notification that where we are renting and using, we have to be out of there by May 31st. So we're pretty much have nowhere to go. So basically, it is still going to remain as agriculture. It's just that he is going to put a shop to work out of with farm machinery and stuff. So,
Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I'll make a comment here. Councilor Brown came a little bit late, well, not late for the meeting. We had the discussion at 6:30. This is zone agriculture. So in order to change it from there, you'd have to go through a zoning. That's when the public hearing. I'm not too concerned but if you want to put that in there.
I still would
Yep.
like to have it there just for agriculture, Manitoba is
Yep.
somewhat of a concern.
Okay, so the motion would be, so Councillor Brown, second by Maxwell, that the Whittingham subdivision be approved, provided the 2 lots remain as agriculture designation.
Okay, anybody else? have anything? If not, I'll call for the question. All in favor? Carry.
Okay, so the next one is a presentation from Mr. Bedome, Gordon Bedome is he here? Yeah, he's
Yes,
here. Gordon will read.
Come and sit right in the middle chair there, Mr. Vedum, and state your name and.
My name is Gordon Badham. I live at the south end of the Waggle Springs Road. And last fall and spring, or summer and fall when it was dry, we were always concerned about danger right there at our road. So I decided to bring a letter here and present my concerns tonight. I would like to express my concerns over road safety condition in the RM of Cornwallis. I am presenting my concerns in the form of this letter, which can be kept on file to document the actions I have taken. Last summer and fall, my concern is the dusty road conditions that lead to obstructed vision at the intersection of Waggle Springs Road and Magazine Road. We use Waggle Springs Road on a daily basis to access our property. We know of the extreme caution that must be taken when entering the intersection of Magazine Road. It is not uncommon to see 3 or 4 gravel trucks following each other in close procession, and it is not uncommon to see them coming in both directions. The dust cloud from one truck has not lifted by the time the next truck enters the intersection. The danger is compounded during potato harvest when Charlotte Farm is using these 2 roads as haul routes, and the north-south traffic on Waggle Springs Road also increases. In 2012, my youngest son, Danny, was involved in a serious accident at this intersection. He was coming home in his Volkswagen Jetta and was broadsided by an eastbound semi loaded with gravel. It was a horrific accident, and it is truly a miracle that Danny survived. I fear it is only a matter of time before another accident occurs. In the last 10 years, there has been a considerable increase in the number of gravel trucks using Magazine Road as a haul route. I know there are many uncontrolled gravel intersections in the municipality where an accident could occur, but with the number of gravel trucks using this route, it is a special concern. I have personally seen the severity of an accident involving a loaded gravel truck and a passenger car. I believe the decision to reduce the speed limit was a good step to help reduce the risk of an accident. But during dusty conditions, I believe obstructed vision is a serious concern. Perhaps the use of dust control products could be considered. I just thank you for giving me the opportunity to express my concern. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Bedham. Does anybody else from council have a question for Mr. Bedham?
Well, I guess I would just like to thank Mr. Benton for the letter and that, and it'll be definitely something that we will bring at budget time to see what we can do to try and alleviate some of that dust at that intersection, and go from there.
Well, thank you. I know very little about what all products are available and all that, but I believe the council should consider it. And I thank you. And
Thanks, Gordon. No, you stay there.
Okay.
Mr. Bedham, we will reply to you. The CEO and myself will draft the letter. We'll get back to you. I would strongly encourage you to stay around for the next portion of the meeting because we're dealing with a gravel bylaw issue that you just mentioned in here. This letter will go on record and we will use it. In fact, we will give it to our legal counsel, saying it's just not council that has a concern. There's some legitimate concerns out there with the state of this road. We want to deal with the potato trucks, with the gravel trucks fairly, but we have to change the way we do business out there. And if you just stick around for the next portion of the meeting, you'll see what we have in store. We're not going to fix the problem overnight. I agree with Councillor Brown. We will deal, there's a few things that we need to deal with in budget time to improve this, but we have to manage those roads a lot better, and safety is on, as a real concern out there. It has been for years. We will try to deal with it. In fact, you'll have an opportunity. We're going to have the public engaged when we put the final stamp to our bylaw before we take it to the first reading. You will be invited to the public engagement where we will deal with the bylaw, and we'll hope we will satisfy your needs. So you will expect you can expect a letter here in the next week to 10 days. And I do appreciate you coming forward and voicing your concerns. They're going to be taken to heart, and we will deal with it.
okay, well, thank you very much.
Yeah.
I'm glad I came.
So will be it resolved that following the communication you received from Mr. Bedham. Yes, you need a,
I can move it.
Motion? Yeah, second. Councilor Maxwell moves it, Councilor Ross seconds it, and anybody else? Yep, I'll call for the question. All in favor to receive? Carry.
so there are no reports from committees at this time. There were no petitions received. So next on the agenda is a report from myself.
Yep.
I don't know if you want me to like read it word for word or
That's
summarize.
entirely up to you. But just for the audience, the CEO has basically put a report together. I asked him before the meeting if he would like to give the audience, as everybody knows, we've gone through some changes here in the last 6 to 8 weeks after 29 meetings. So, see together.
We got an echo. Mute, there we go. That
I'll give him the opportunity to read whatever he feels like and submit it to council.
All right.
You got the
So,
floor.
yeah, council has asked for a report from me. It was, first of all, requested weekly. Then a councillor asked for it to be, a report from the CAO to come at the meeting. So we're just sort of working out what is the best format for a report from myself. But for those watching, the report is on there, and it's also available. It's just states basically that I was hired by West Canada Human Resources who was contracted by the Arm of Cornwallis. I started on November 10th. My assignment was to keep the office open and assist ratepayers while serving as a link between council as they set and implemented policies. Under the direction of council, I am ensuring that programs and services are delivered by following the council's election mandate. Performing the duties and exercising the powers assigned to the CAO under the Manitoba Municipal Act and other applicable legislation and bylaws. The learning experience that I have experienced. Learned the role of the CAO or even counselors in the municipal governance system. The fact that municipal work is very close to home, somewhat more so than the Parliament of Canada, from which I have experience working in and around. I've learned a lot about how provincial and federal legislation affects the local municipality. The RM has been a beehive of activity while troubleshooting and assisting ratepayers as much as humanly possible. We now have a financial analyst and administrative assistant in place. We are much more able to respond to residents and council's requests than we were a month ago. Day-to-day operations of the municipality, reporting and meeting with elected council, resolutions, bylaws, policies, leading the municipalities under the Municipal Act, working with a high level of accuracy, tact, and diplomacy, and maintain effective working relationship, which I've been striving to do. Administration and financial management, there's stuff in there. I've been working closely with our new financial analyst as we're tasked with preparing and monitoring the financial plan, budget, and administering the revenue from RM. Human resources management, financial analyst was hired December 2nd. Thank you, council. Administrative assistant was hired December 13th. Thank you, council. Tracy and Barb have been fantastic. Trying to continue foster a positive, collaborative, respectful work environment, mentoring, encouraging, and coaching our new staff, supervision and direction given to the public works employees. And I'm gonna thank everyone at the end here. Financial planning, budgeting and reporting, some professional development. I would like to enroll in the CMMA in the new year if council so desires. The administrative assistant is probably 75 to 80% trained on the Assist municipal software. She has an appointment for a criminal record check. She's proficient in many, many things. She's very good. She has a lot of experience. That's detailed there in my report. The financial analyst is pretty well trained. Thank you to council for approving some training for her. She's pretty much trained on the Assist municipal software system and has completed a criminal record check. Myself, there's some things that I have studied and reviewed, some things that I would like to do. The Assist program, I'm somewhat versed on and getting more so every day. I just also want to take this opportunity to thank the following council for their confidence in myself. And I look forward to working with you to accomplish big things if I'm fortunate enough to be hired as a permanent CAO. I'd like to thank my fellow staff members for their commitment and hard work over the past month or so, month and a half. Public Works employees, they've been diligent and doing a great job. Since the first snowfall, they've been working tirelessly to keep the roads clear. And I want to thank Alan and Wayne for their service. We have several part-time and casual contract employees who have been fortunate to get to know. Some of them work the waste transfer station. Some of them are helping me. Wendy's helping me with the emergency preparedness document. And some of them deliver water samples and different things like that. There's a lot of folks, obviously the police service, Cornwallis Police Service, to thank them. Keystone Planning, Angela and Brad for their assistance and patience with me as I've learned my role and their role within our municipality. And municipal relations, specifically Charla and Devin, who for their advice, assistance, and patience. And just thank you for this opportunity to serve. Thank you.
I'll make a motion that we accept the CA's report as information.
We got a motion to receive the CEO report. Can I have a second? Councilor Ross is a mover. Councilor Grohan is the second. I'll wait for you.
Yeah, 1 second.
Yeah.
7,
I'll take my time. Just
Ross.
Yeah. Councilor Ross is the mover. Councilor Grohan second to receive the CEO report.
Yeah.
Does anybody have any questions? No. I just want to make a comment here for the audience. This office, every person is new in here, and we do appreciate the patience that you have shown. The one council that's keeping track of our meetings since October the 27th. We've had 29 to date. Maybe not all at once, but just to put the puzzle together here, but I think we're getting very close to putting the last piece of the puzzle together, and we're hoping in the new year, we'll start the process of hiring of the CAO, and we'll hopefully put our permanent staff in place, and we can start 2023 reviewing our preliminary budget and moving forward. So I do appreciate everybody that showed their patience. Got a lot of phone calls and a lot of text messages, and I didn't return them right away because we were busy with meetings. I do appreciate it. So with that, I'll call for the question, and all in favor to receiving the report. Yeah, Gary. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, okay, so the next one, accounts and finance. Be it resolved that council table the financial statements, and maybe if the Reeve would like to explain.
Yes, I've reviewed the accounts and finances, so have other council members. There's a couple things on there that we just need time before we accept it, because once you accept it, it's done. So we're gonna review it. We're gonna call a special meeting with the financial officer or financial assistant to walk us through. There's some expenditures in there that just need a little bit of clarification before we accept them. So it's not, the bills are paid, but before we accept them, I think it's important that we understand some of those financial expenditures. So that's why I asked the council today. I sent out a text message that we should table it, and we'll deal with it on early part of January.
So that's 8.1 to 8.2.
Yes.
There's also the interim budget. And be it resolved that in accordance with section 163 of the Municipal Act, council hereby adopts the interim operating budget for 2023.
Yeah, just
Tabling.
We
Yeah.
have to have a motion. to
No,
table.
we have to take the previous one right to a vote. Okay, nobody else, we'll call for the question.
Well, we need a motion first.
Yeah, okay, for the table.
I'll make the motion to table the approval of the accounts item and the financial statement,
No, to table.
to table the approval of the accounts.
Yeah, okay, that's good. Okay, so Councilor Brown has a motion to table the approval of the accounts, and we'll have a second. Yeah, Councilor Ross. See, Councilor Brown, you wanna?
Well,
Yeah.
you stated it, so you
Yeah.
have to have a mover and a second.
Okay, so that's why I went that way. Is everybody in favor to table the accounts until we meet to the special meeting? All in favor? Yep, okay, so now you.
Then there's the interim budget. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
The interim budget,
No. 18.
oh,
That one we can't table, folks. The reason being, if you wanted a table,
that was just 8.1.
just 8.1, like 8.12, we mentioned it. What we want
8.2 is a
table,
financial statement.
oh, yes. So we're gonna table 8.1 to 8.2.
Gotcha.
Okay, now 8.3, we'll get the CEO to read that motion because, then
Mr.
we'll,
Chairperson, what are we doing with 8.2?
8.2.
It's to be in table, but are we
Table.
doing it as a separate motion?
Well, that's what I asked, 8.1 and 8.2, right?
Right. But you kind of went, ho,
Yeah,
and
so
so
I didn't realize we were doing.
Yeah. He started reading 8.3, so that's when I stopped him. Because 8.3 has to be approved tonight.
So my motion would have been 8.1 and 8.2 to be tabled.
Yeah, that's the way I understood it, Councilor Brown, I'm sorry. if
I misheard, sorry.
Are we clear? We're tabling 8.1 and 8.2 for the January special, I'll call a special meeting. Are we clear on that? Okay, so now we'll call for the question on that. Yeah, like we did, but I just wanted to make sure that, so 8.1 and 8.2 is tabled. Okay, so now we're dealing with 8.3, if you want to read the entire.
Yeah, so 8.3, be it resolved in accordance with section 163 of the Municipal Act, the council hereby adopts an interim operating budget for the year 2023. And as follows, and it's listed there.
Can you read it out for the public?
General government services, 175,000, all thousands. Protective services, 110, transportation, 250, environment, health, 50,000. Public health and welfare, 25, environment health, 30,000, economic development, 20,000. recreation and culture 5,000, fiscal services 10,000, utility services 25,000, for a total of 700,000
As an interim budget.
interim.
Can
Can
I
I,
make that motion?
Council Brown makes the motion. Can I have a second? Yeah, Council Ross. So just for the audience, this is our interim budget because we probably wouldn't have the budget, the public hearing. Normally it's in April, so this keeps us going to keep the lights on and the bills paid and people's paycheck.
This is something that we do every year in December.
Yeah.
For that reason, because.
That's right.
There's bills to be paid, once a new year comes before.
Yep.
New budget comes into place.
That's a good point, Councilor Brown. We will keep an eye on it now that we've got financial. If we feel we need to make an adjustment, we can, she'll advise us to increase it, but we've got to keep that money, the bills paid. Now, anybody else has any questions or all in favor of approving the interim budget? Carry.
Okay, the audited financial report, be it resolved that council accept the revised audit for 2021 by Census Chartered Professional Accountants Limited.
Have a motion.
How can we make a motion when, have we seen the revised audit?
It has been received by administration. I'm not sure if it was sent out. Tracy was supposed to, they emailed me today, they need a copy of it back, so if I get a motion, well, I guess, yeah, I'm not sure if you shared that or if Tracy shared it with her. Does anybody, like, I got a copy, I thought she sent it out,
I saw it sometime.
yeah, I thought it was.
I sent it out to the counselors via email.
Yeah, that's what I thought, about 2 weeks ago. That's when I received it.
Last week, beginning of last week, I think Wednesday, maybe.
Okay, I thought, yeah, I reviewed it and there's some changes in there.
There's only been about 50 bloody emails over the last 2 weeks. It's something that I probably missed.
Yeah. So if
I can
send-
I can resend it in the morning. We need to have it approved before we can get the actual final copy of it from the auditor.
before we-
I have no problem if everybody else has read it, because some of my stuff that comes from the office goes to my junk mail.
Okay, that's fair.
So
So do you want to make a motion to,
I'm not making a motion, but I'm okay with you people doing what, if you've all read it.
yep, I
I will
have,
abstain because I haven't read it.
well, I'll tell you what, normally a Reeve doesn't make a motion, but I was heavily involved when the auditors came back. I was with Deputy Reeve, Ross and the CEO, when we sat down with them and advised them of some things in there. So I'll make a motion that we hereby accept. I don't feel comfortable, but I'll make that motion to accept the 2021 census audit report. I'll need a second and then we'll put it into debate.
It was based on that conversation.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, Councilor Ross. Now, normally a Reeve doesn't put a motion on, but I own this. When I took powers of Reeve in this municipality, census kept putting pressure on the new CAO and myself to sign the audit report. I looked at it. There were some things in there that were missing. And I'll be honest with you, we called them in and we told them, how can I sign something when things were missed? That trailer purchase that was done before it was legal was missed. They weren't aware of it. That is now in the audit. The gravel that we're receiving in this municipality, well over $500,000. They weren't aware that we don't have a process and nobody's verifying the receipt of that gravel. He's now put that in there. The beaver thing, there's no policy and we're paying people to shoot beavers and there's no policies. They have now identified that in the audit. Now, there's probably a few other things that got missed, but we said because of the deadline, the province, we had to email Minister Eileen Clark, CEO did, that we're working on the revised financial audit. And the province needs it. Normally it's mailed to them or it's sent to them by May or something, June, the deadline. And here we are a couple days before Christmas and it's still not signed off. I feel comfortable, not totally, but I will sign it and I will hand deliver it to the auditor. Then Tracy will get it back and we'll post it. But there's some things in there that were missed, like how can you not catch a trailer that was purchased without a resolution and the budget wasn't even passed and they missed it, but they said the instruction they got, they didn't really. We need better control of our audit next year, folks. We really need to tighten it up how we do our audit. So there's my, my thing on that. So I'm the mover. If anybody else has some questions, go right ahead. Yeah. Nobody else has anything? I'll call for the question. All in favor? Opposed?
I'm abstaining,
Oh, Councillor Brown is
and
abstaining.
I'd like that recorded too, please.
Yeah. Abstaining from this evening. Yeah, no problem.
And like I said, I'll send that first thing in the morning out to the council, the draft statements that were submitted by the auditor.
Good, thanks, Tracy. Okay,
Next would be the council indemnity bylaw.
yes,
So be it resolved that council gives first reading to the most recent councilor's indemnity bylaw.
You know what, I would make a motion to table this at the present time. And if I could have a seconder, I'll give you my reasons for it. I'll second.
second, Kate.
The reason why I would like to see this tabled for the time being is all this was kind of dropped on us on a Sunday afternoon when it's a day of rest for most people. You know, I don't know what the big rush of it is for, being that it wants to, the Reeve wants it to be dealt with before the new year. But my question is, why does it have to be dealt with as we speak? It can be dealt at a different time between now and budget time. Another thing that I would like to just state about it is if things have to be so quickly done, why hasn't the part of having a gravel contract redone in a very timely manner? Because there's a lot of pissed off people, sorry for my language, but there's a lot of people that wished that we had better service for that. So anyways, I would like to have it tabled to a further date that we can discuss all the things that you want to have in this bylaw. And I think we should be talking about it as a whole group, not just rammed down our throats.
Second,
Yeah, I'm surprised that there isn't a standard for the province for this indemnity stuff, but being that there's not, I was kind of hoping the administration could maybe go to some like-sized RMs with a similar population, similar proximity to major centers that we have to deal with and see what kind of, how the indemnities run there. I have done a little bit of looking, and I know the change in the mileage is very small downward, but all the ones I've looked at, they're going the other way. They're going to the CRA number, which is actually 10 cents higher, which again, I don't care. I don't think any of us around the table actually eyed on for the money, because I didn't even know what it was till I filled out the form for November. But I just think it would be good to have some comparisons done so we know where we're going. That's what I was.
Mr. Chairperson, I guess I would speak against the motion simply because we're an agriculture-based province. I've been an agriculture employee for 25 years, and some of the figures that were suggested in the indemnity bylaw are what the province of Manitoba is using. And for 25 years, I've been able to operate with those figures with no problems whatsoever. I've looked around at some of the indemnities of the surrounding municipalities around us. They're substantially less than what we're talking about reducing hours to. So, you know, there's, in my opinion, there's still room to go down anymore. But yet, like Councillor Maxwell says, I'm surprised that there isn't a provincial standard for this.
So I give my two cents.
I just don't think it's detailed enough. Like, is this the only thing that we're changing, or can we change more into the second reading? Because I don't think it's detailed enough, and not enough clarity of all the things that we should and shouldn't charge, or what, which I have no problem with the dollar amounts.
We need to talk about it.
The dollar amounts are fine, but I don't think there's enough clarity and detail in the actual what's written.
No, that's fair. I can't support the motion that's on the floor, and I'll tell you why. I looked at the agenda, and I do appreciate Councillor Brown saying this was ran down our throat. If you looked at the agenda, we're a learning administration here. The way the CEO, and no fault to the CEO, he had it on there, cell phone bylaw. We do not have a cell phone bylaw. It's embedded in the indemnity bylaw. So the first thing I did is email the CEO kindly and graciously, he changed it. And he said, yeah, he made a mistake. And we have discussed, a few of us, to look at this indemnity bylaw. If you look around, we're just giving it first reading with some suggestion. Councillor Brown has a whole month, well, I guess 3 weeks now, to come to council with some comparisons. I feel comfortable what is being proposed by several councillors to put on the table first reading. All council can tell administration or do it themselves. Look around for other comparisons, bring it to the second reading. We can make the changes at the second and third reading. But I think at the end of the day, I will not support the tabling it. And the reason it's important, why I asked the administration to put it on there, is the first reading is today, second and third reading is in January. So if it does pass, then it's in effect, basically retroactive to January 1. If you table till January, well, then it's not in effect till February 1. So the timing here is very crucial. And we do have 3 weeks to look to our neighbors to the north, to the neighbors to the south, to the east, to the west. I've looked around, we're one of the highest paid municipalities. That's why I think we need to deal with it first reading. I think every council should come with some ideas. I'm not going to ram it down your throat. We all have we need to do some analysis. This, as it stands right now, really, we need to give it first reading, in my opinion. So if nobody else has it, any questions, we'll ask for a vote for tabling it. I'm not going to support tabling it. I think we need to deal with it. Then what we will do, if it gets defeated, we will deal with it after that. But you got anything else, Councilor Brown?
Well, it just that we should be talking, like you said, a few of us councilors or council members talked about it. Well, that isn't all of us. So I don't know why we're supposed to be working as a team. But that doesn't seem to be happening when, well, let's go and do first reading. But can we not talk about things first before we go to that first reading? That's all I'm saying. So call for the question.
I'll call for the question to table it.
So don't.
Okay,
Sorry.
because it's the timing that's over. So
Against?
against tabling it. That motion is defeated. So now we're back to the original motion. So now, no. So this motion is on the floor now.
I'll make a motion to adopt the indemnity bylaw as presented.
Second. Okay. So Councilor Ross. For the first reading. Councilor Grohan seconds it. Now, there's no debate at the first reading. The recommended changes are on there. So I would really encourage people or council members to do their homework analysis. Pull out your calculator and see any changes you want, what it's gonna cost if we want to increase or decrease. Let's do an analysis and discuss it at the January meeting and we'll go from there. Anybody else? I'll call for the question. All in favor? Councilor Ross, Councilor Groveman, and so against. Councilor Maxwell, Councilor Brown.
And
So
the
give it first
vote
reading.
should be recorded too, please.
Yeah. So the first reading, so again, I'll reiterate that, let's all go home and you'll send us all a revised copy of that bylaw. Correct? You'll. The most recent. Well, no, with the additions, we can't debate it. You need to add, because we gave it first reading with the additions. So now you will insert
These-
all,
The additions, the meal
The
allowance,
change,
the
yes.
kilometers,
yes.
the conventional allowance,
Yes.
and all that.
If you insert that and give the council as much time as possible to look at second reading, we can debate it, delete and revise, whatever, because it's the timing that helps us here. That in January, we approve it, then it's in effect January 1st.
And my intention this week is to get all council all the information they need to make an educated decision on that bylaw amendment.
Thanks, Tracy. Actually, Tracy, I'm glad you mentioned that. We voted for it, but just for the audience, the bylaw that you see on the website, there's 3 revisions since then, but we haven't uploaded it. So it's, the whole thing's a mess. So we really need to buckle
Mr.
down.
Chairperson,
Tracy.
don't use the word everything's
Yeah.
a mess, because you had stated that on another item at another meeting.
Yeah.
And it was not the case.
Yeah.
So you should not be using that word.
Tracy and myself spent about 2 hours trying to figure out which bylaw is correct. So I'm just telling you, there's documents all over, none of them are signed. So at the end of the day, we're moving on. Gravel license. I mean, we know, we've had them.
No, I would too.
What's that?
Run that would too.
Missed the signing authority.
So,
So indemnity
Oh.
bylaw was defeated 3-2, and now you're on to 9.2, the organizational bylaw signing authority revision.
yeah, my mistake, yeah. Okay,
So be it resolved, we do hereby give reading to amend bylaw 1690-03-2020, organizational bylaw in the RM of Cornwallis. This is due to both the CAO and FA, financial analyst, requiring signing authority. So basically, to summarize it, it's so that there's one politician and one office staff always signing checks and documents, so that Tracy and I can't run away with $1 million to Mexico, or vice versa, 2 councillors or the Reeve and Deputy Reeve can't sign something and run away, basically. So it says the proposed signing authority amends it to say all checks and other negotiable instruments and agreements must be signed or authorized by the Reeve together with the CAO or FA, or the Deputy Reeve together with the CAO or FA. And all agreements must be signed by the Reeve, and in absence of the Reeve, the Deputy Reeve, together with the CAO, or in absence of the CAO, the FA. So it's basically saying, and before, the change is, before it said the Reeve and the CAO, or the administrative assistant, or the Deputy Reeve and the CAO and admin. Now, that there is no, the administrative assistant here is not going to have signing authority, so that's why it had to be changed.
I'll have a motion, we can discuss it. Can I have a mover?
I'll make the motion as written here, but I have questions.
Great. Yeah. So Councilor Brown moves it.
Yes.
Councilor Maxwell, go ahead.
Yep, yeah, 8.0 and 8.1, totally agree with. I thought when we had been talking about it before, creating an 8.2, because the other 3 council members, myself, Councilor Drohan and Councilor Maxwell, have signed an authority also. So that should be stated in there too, just in case that the reeve, deputy reeve happen to be away and checks have to be signed.
Council Brown, that's a great point. I thought we had that in there as 8.2.
Yeah.
We must have missed it.
Is that a friendly
But that,
amendment or you just add that in?
for me,
Is that a friendly amendment? Yeah.
that would have to be a friendly amendment for doing
Because,
this.
yeah, like,
But the-
we all sign it, for it,
have-
so,
Yeah.
but I can understand the
Yeah.
person with the.
So you want to make a friendly amendment?
Friendly amendment to add
8.2.
8.2
Yeah.
to also add in, I guess would be in the absence of
Mhm.
the reeve, the deputy reeve, that the other three council members that have signing authority could step in and do those duties. But just for instance, Mr. Reeve, you stated we can't be here on a certain date,
I agree.
you know, so.
So can you read that just to make sure that Council Brown is comfortable with the 8.2?
So 8.2 would read, all agreements must be signed or authorized by the reeve in absence of the reeve or another counselor together with the CAO or in absence of the CAO, the FA.
That's 8.1.
No, I added the other, sorry.
Run it by me.
So all agreements must be signed or authorized by the reeve or in absence of the reeve, the deputy reeve or another counselor together with the CAO, or absence of the CAO, the CF. This financial, absence of the CAO, the financial analyst.
Is that right?
No,
We could just edit 8.1 and add additional counselors.
Yeah. 8.1 could also be revised to say all agreements must be signed or authorized by the reeve in absence of the reeve, the deputy reeve or another counselor together with the CAO or the.
I'll just make a comment. I don't think agreement should the reeve edit to me. He owns or the deputy. I don't think we need council signing agreements because they have to be approved by council.
It's just a sign an authority
Yeah,
for.
for checks.
For checks.
Exactly.
Then you have to revise 8.0 then. All checks and other negotiable instruments and
Yes.
agreements must be signed or authorized by the reeve together with the CAO or the financial analyst or the deputy reeve or a counselor with the CAO or FA.
Yeah.
So then 8.0 is being just you're just adding three other counselors
Yeah.
to the signing authority under 8.0.
You okay with that, Council Brown? Yeah, I
I'm
think that-
I'm fine with that.
yeah, that was the intent. of
That was
when
the
we mentioned
intent of what I
8.2.
was wanting.
Yeah. Okay, so you've got that. The agreements, I think, should be the reeve.
Yes.
We have to pass a resolution at council and I'll be here.
And agreements would be a reeve or a deputy reeve
I agree.
thing to do because it's could be a subdivision thing that you're
Exactly.
signing or.
Okay. So we're just changing 8.0 so that the other counselors can be the second signatory on a check if the reeve and deputy reeve are not available. Yeah.
You okay with the amendment? Okay, so. Actually, Council
Second is Maxwell.
Yes, and he's okay with the amendment.
Okay.
So if nobody else has any.
I have
Yeah.
some questions. Regarding financial control. So now we're putting two people to sign for checks. Is this going to match our electronic method of paying people as well? Because we are adding a second person to be able to release funds electronically. This policy should apply to that as well.
That's a great point because we had a meeting with the Myers Northern Penny last week and she strongly suggested we need to tighten up our electronic method of paying. Right now, this office is set up for one payment and I did email the CEO today, where are we? We need to come up with a method. Where are we with Compass? Do we put it in here or is that another policy whatsoever? But we should definitely, we had a mistake today. That mysteriously somebody got paid just by accident. And if there would have been two people there, I'm confident the second person would have probably ring. So it's being dealt with. But what's happening, other two municipalities, miles of us here, had some serious transactions that happen in their municipality. We can't afford to have it happen here. We need to tighten up our control. Yeah, so I'm not sure if we can incorporate it here. I think we asked the CEO to talk to the bank. How do we set that up and get the proper wording? I'd like to definitely see it in January. We really need to tighten up our financial control.
Tracy's available to answer any of the questions.
Yeah, when I think about that, I think first step, we need to get the financial analyst into that existing bylaw and get me the signing authority on the bank. The situation that you're talking about is payroll. That is a completely different issue. That's a direct deposit. It's different than an electronic funds, like a electronic funds payment to pay an invoice. That when you do that, it's just like a two-tiered authentication where it's through a text message or an email to verify. It's a separate issue than payroll, but I think once we get that signing authority, then that's the very next step, is to update those electronic payments. And they're literally less than a handful of them that are affected, that are paid that way currently. So I'll just double check and make sure that all of those are processed properly with prior approval of council, of course.
Does that answer some of your concerns?
Yes.
Councilor Ross? Yeah, but we will be working on it. I sent an email, and I'm sure the administration will work at it. I can't emphasize enough. We got to tighten.
So just with my closing, I think we just deal with
Yeah.
this, and then it could be a separate motion at a later date when our financial person finds out all the details, and then we can make the proper resolution to fix that.
Yeah, I think if you just noted that in that somewhere in the minutes, that's the step 2 that needs to be taken. Once I have the signing authority, then, because I'm the one that will be doing all of those electronic payments. So it's really almost a moot point until I can actually make those payments electronically at this point. But it'll be the first thing that gets set up properly with all of the proper security checks once we get step 1 completed.
Okay, that's fair. So everybody happy? No.
Who's you would move?
Yeah. You're okay? Anybody else got anything? Well, I'll call for the question. All in favor? Okay.
You can, the travel license and fees.
Read the motion.
This was dropped on the last minute, but I'll read it. Get resolved that the review of the structure and license fees in the RM of Cornwallis with respect to bylaw 170705 2022 aggregate mining and transportation, which was given third reading on November 15th, 2022. Further be it resolved that council authorizes administration to work with the RM legal counsel to revise the interim licensing fee to $6,000 per license.
Overlay.
I have a motion. We'll discuss. Okay. Councilor Ross makes a motion. Can we have a second? Get it on the table. Councilor Ross. Councilor Ross with 4.
In regards to how we're going to measure the amount of aggregate that's present in the pit at the end of the year and at the end of the year, this takes the onus off of.
Can you speak up, please? We can't hear you.
Oh, sorry. This takes the onus off of pit owners. And it's, from what I understand, it's a very accurate method of measuring the amount of aggregate that's being hauled over our roads in the municipality.
Interim change, right?
Interim.
We can't hear anybody
Yeah.
here.
It's an
It's an interim change at the moment.
interim.
Is what I was questioning.
Anybody else? And I'll I'll give you a little bit of background here.
Well,
Council Brown.
I don't know if I can be in favor of this because I stressed that we needed to have that particular meeting with the gravel pit owners, committee of them, and residents and council to discuss all options. This is different than what I was led to believe that was coming forth. Yeah, I'm kind of shocked, so I'm kind of lost for words, to tell you the truth.
Well, I was surprised to see it because I didn't know it was coming, so I guess that's the only thing for me. I didn't realize it was gonna jump up. I did go and review some other locations that had stuff, and they're in the $100 range, and I thought, well, we were way low at $10, but that's quite a jump. So that's all I can say.
Now, will I explain? Okay, only Council Brown and myself were on council, and I do appreciate Council Maxwell, Council Drummond, Council, they need to be brought up to speed. So back when we had the municipal hearing in March, we had residents, an applicant come forward, and we sat before the municipal board arguing our case. It was the Reeve at that time, who's sitting in our audience tonight, told the municipal board on 2 occasions that day, we are getting shortchanged. It's quite fair. That's his opinion, okay? We have got the CAO took a 5-year snapshot, our expenses versus our income at that rate back there. We were losing on, I think it was $75,000 in the hole. So the residents of this municipality subsidized the aggregate haul routes. Plus, one thing the CEO back then put in there, to date, we're over $500,000 of gas tax money that have gone on to these aggregate roads. That was not in that. So we're losing money, okay? It's a system that's broken. Is there immediate fix? Because I was heavily involved in that municipal hearing, at the time, I represented the municipality. We've heard the residents for a number of years. How do you fix that? 2 years ago, I said, we need a scale. We brought the gravel pit owners in here. And guess what? I changed my mind because what they were saying, they need to make money. I have no problem them making money, but we need some of that money. They were concerned if we set up a scale and come up with a structure, how are you going to do it? They were worried that the trucks were going to slow up traffic. Well, we didn't want that. The CEO at the time had already reached out to a company that would survey pits. She got a quotation. CEO at the time told the previous council what it would cost to go in, survey the pit, start of the year, and at the end of the year, she gave council a number, okay? Because we're still in the RFQ stage, I reached out to a municipal lawyer, what can we do? January 1st is rolling around here. They're gonna come in here, and I advise as a leader, do not issue a license yet. So I've been talking to the municipal lawyer. Now, after 29 meetings, there's only so many hours in the day left where I can, on my lunch hour, call the municipal lawyer. I ran the scenario by him. I'm still waiting, this municipality is waiting for 2 more engineering firms to somehow scan the pits. There's technology out there, various technology. The quote that came in, because it's confidential, because we can't release it, this is going to be very close. In fact, this might have to be increased. And because our municipal lawyer, we need to include administration costs here. If we can charge a public utility administration costs, we need to charge administration fee for the walk-in traffic to open the doors. This isn't a magic wand here. I don't think we can do it for 6,000. I'm being fair here. We will reveal, and Councilor Brown, we will call a meeting, but there's no use calling a meeting when we don't have any information. It was just this week that the new administration found the volumes of gravel. They couldn't find it. They finally got it. So there's a starting point. It's confidential information. I'll share it with you folks. We'll share it with our lawyer. Our lawyer is gonna write this bylaw. This is just to try to get these roads fixed up. We had an individual sitting before us tonight saying the roads is a major concern. They are. We have the aggregate fees and the trucking fees should, in my opinion, should be to maintain the roads. This licensing fee will be the measure. Councillor Ross did say it. We don't have a magic wand. If these pit owners will invite them in here, along with the residents, if somebody can show a council, how do we measure a accurate method of every gravel, every wheelbarrow, I say, that gets hauled out of there, they better come forward. The technology's out there now, surveying, scanning, LiDAR, you name it, it's out there, but it's gonna cost money, folks. And it can't be the ratepayers out there. And we're gonna show everybody how much gas tax money has gone on these aggregate roads. I recognize that residents travel on those roads, but they're not tore up by residential traffic. They're tore up by these big trucks. We're gonna talk to our engineering firm. Maybe the trucks are too big. These are all things, once we gather all the information, but at least we're gonna keep them rolling, these trucks. We don't wanna stop the gravel business. We want them to pay their fair share. They're making thousands of dollars, but it can't be on our dime. Once we prove to them, this is the technology we're using, they have to agree with it. If not, they might not get the license. Council will decide, and we're gonna have a presentation by the company we're going to choose how we're gonna go in and scan. I wish we would have dealt with that last March. We had all of last summer. On 6 occasions, I asked the previous reeve, why don't we start dealing with it? It didn't happen. We're now stuck with it, folks. And unfortunately, we've got 3 new councillors that need to be brought up, educated, and we will, once the engineer does a presentation how this will work. We'll talk to our lawyer in camera, and we're gonna get this thing right. The days of subsidizing, like, come on, I mean, the average person in this municipality has enough challenges. We don't need to subsidize gravel companies. And the gravel companies, I think if they're honest out there, they'll understand that what we're proposing here is indeed fair. So there's my explanation. Times are changing. We gotta do things here. So there's my explanation. We were throwing $500 around, like that's not even covering the travel to go and scan a pit.
Well, that would have been a starting point to discuss this more in depthly. But you've got that there now, so I guess I better call for the question then.
Like, I'll back up a scale. I did phone scaling companies. That's $80,000 minimum. You can't expect a small pit to invest in $80,000. So here, every pit owner will be treated the same. You go in and scan the pit, and the engineer tells us the volume of yardage that's been removed. I can't see anybody arguing against that. I mean, it's a measuring. If you don't measure, how you can't go by, oh, they're reporting properly. That's not the way to do it.
I just don't believe we're going about it the right way. I get it that we have to charge more for the business licenses.
Yep.
But should have had everybody involved sooner and like I agree. There has to be an increase in the license. I don't dispute that. But anyways, you call for the question, Mr. Chairperson.
Anybody else got some concerns? And Councilor Brown, we will get the residents and the gravel pit owners involved. It's not just the licensing fees. We might have to reroute some trucks out there and decrease our mileage. So the money that we're
I get that.
collecting.
We have talked about
Yeah.
taking some gravel haul roads out of the loop of a haul road and on north side and the south side. That can be done, but that's a different topic. Yeah, right as we speak.
Mr. Chairperson, I'm just wondering in Councilor Brown's area, how many gravel trucks travel on his roads? I was campaigning out where a lot of the gravel pits are, and I spoke to a lot of residents. and they're very upset and very concerned at the amount of truck traffic that's on those roads and what it's doing to those roads. And I've taken several tours out there, and I've seen the condition of those roads.
Mr. Counselor Ross, I'm not disputing that there isn't a lot of traffic. I know there is a lot of traffic on these haul roads. I'm just saying. We should have been dealing with the pit owners and concerned residents in that particular area. Instead of going and slapping an interim amount in there and okay, people come in and maybe pay it or have to pay it because they got contracts. But at the end of the day, well, we find out, oh, well, geez, we made a mistake. And maybe it only should be a few $1,000. Or maybe we made a mistake, maybe it should be 10,000. But we should have had our ducks in a row earlier to discuss all these options. So we could have got that resolution more precise.
Councillor Brown, I appreciate your concern. Like I said, this council took over October the 27th. We're up to 30 meetings now. We didn't have time to call engagement meeting. We had to get staff in place, which we did, and we're thankful for. There's no use calling a meeting when we don't have the adequate staff. The CEO was working 8, 10, 12 hours a day, but we're over that hump now. Yes, would it be nice? But the way I look at it, we've got some quotes coming in. The engineers will educate council first before we get engaged. If we're comfortable with the method of measuring, the only two ways that I know right now, folks, is either a scale that's operated by the RMF Cornwallis, which we would need 4 of them, just the way we're located. There's Tasmanian gravel up there. Well, that would be unfair to have him spend $80,000. So when our own engineer said, instead of going to scale, scan your pits, well, that opened up a new can of worms. And at the end of the day, that's $6,000. I'm not quite sure if that's going to cover, but at least it's a starting point. And the way we'll be fair. I think everybody knows where I'm coming from. If it's $4,500, we will put that in the bylaw that we will reimburse them. But this is to get the ball rolling so we don't shut down the gravel pits. We know we've got an issue. We're not collecting enough fees. I fully support the motion. Our lawyer will write it up and have it hopefully in place before the license get issued.
I just, as part of the discussion, I have to tell you about a ratepayer that came in who, and I think that everybody around the table and everyone here and everyone watching wants to make the road safer and make the area more enjoyable. I think that's the idea. I appreciated Mr. Bedome's presentation today about the safety of the roads and the dust of the roads and everything like that. I come from a rural area as well, but so the ratepayer that came in had some good suggestions. And this has nothing to do with the rates of licenses or the rates for the aggregate. This has to do with some common sense safety changes that can be made in the RM with very little more than signage and enforcement, because there are already roads that should be traveled by these trucks that lead up to the 457, the Trans-Canada Highway, and so on. But there's shortcuts being made, and people walking their dogs on secondary roads are being bothered. And if I was living on a secondary road, I would be bothered by the shortcutters too. And so if they stick to the main roads that are built and maintained and properly for transporting aggregate, I would suggest that a lot of the problems that we're talking about, that we're arguing about, can be alleviated. But I haven't had an opportunity to present this idea that was brought to me by a person who lives basically right in the middle of a lot of the major gravel pits just over here. Take that for what it's worth. I think that administration needs a chance to make our roads safer with council's direction, of course. But that's something after being here only a couple of weeks that I've seen that could be easily done for very little from a budget perspective. we have a Cornwallis police officer that can make sure that they're not taking shortcuts. Because they're shortcutting to that way. It's simple common sense. It doesn't have to be, there's changes that can be made very quickly and respectfully of ratepayers, residents, and gravel businesses.
Yeah, CEO, I appreciate the input, but I will say, our engineer has told us we've got too many aggregate truck routes. We don't have the revenue to maintain. So this is a starting point. We'll get the residents and the truck haulers involved and look at the big picture from 100 miles up and say, what is the best route to go that will alleviate some of the concerns at the CEO? It's just, we've only got so much money. And last summer, the texts and the emails I got, the roads are undrivable. I appreciate that, folks. But at the end of the day, we've got to get this license fee. It's interim. And I honestly think we as elected representatives, if that 6,000 is too much, we will reimburse it. We don't have to put it in here. I think the public building trust us, but 6,000, from the quote, the first quote that came in that I'll share with you folks, I would ask that you keep it confidential because 2 other quotes will be coming in either before New Year's or shortly after. They're looking at various software and what it costs. And but I would appreciate if those costs would be kept confidential. I will share with you. It's right in line with that. If you read that email, I haven't even put administration cost in here. We need to get that from administration. This just happened here in the last few days. And I talked to our lawyer late Friday. He tells me we're right in line. And there's millions of dollars of aggregate involved here. If $5,000 licensing fee is minimal, they'll just have to absorb that cost when they go sell the gravel. So that's my take on it. Yeah, thanks for the input, CEO. So I'll call for the question. If nobody else has anything for the adoption of this resolution. All in favor? No. Against? Against, yes. So 3-2. So Councillor Ross. We call for are for it.
And just to furthermore, I just don't think we're doing the process the right way. I understand everything that we want to try and make it safer for anybody that's traveling, roads better, whatever. I get that. I'm not disputing, I just don't like the way it works about it.
The quote just came in on Friday. I talked to legal counsel. I couldn't call a
You
meeting
can't tell
yesterday.
us anything right now, Sam, so you might as well not talk anymore.
We will have an information meeting as soon as we get the quotes in, so we can have a presentation from the people that are quoting for the scanning the pits. So moving on to this.
Number 11, under new business, Kit Harrison is requesting more time to complete the rezoning and subdivision. He says he's not here tonight, but he asked me to say if we can reach a development agreement, then the process is more predictable. Ideally, we'd like to transfer to multiple titles once our name and the title, the new subdivision is completed and titles are issued. Requesting another 6 months until June 30th, 2023. So that's Kit Harrison from Sutton Realty. His request is to give them another 6 months for rezoning.
Councilor Brown, would you like to, normally you want a motion, but you want to educate council a little bit on that piece of property?
Well, it's a piece of property that Cornwallis owns on Victoria Avenue, between Victoria Avenue East, between the hydro station and I guess would be Bucks Unlimited, East 40 Packers. I believe there's 21 acres there that they approached us, God, probably 3 years ago or so. And we come up with a figure, which I believe is public knowledge. The amount is $550,000. But anyways, I guess it had been getting put off a little bit just because of some of the things that they're coming across with planning in Brandon, city of Brandon, I believe. So I guess with them, it's taken longer to resolve for them than that's what they're coming to request 6 months extra, I guess. So the only thing I can presume why they're requesting.
Thanks a lot, Councilor Brown. Actually, I'll echo the same thing. This has been, and they have been very communicating with us for the last year and a half. I see no reason for it. Nobody else has come forward with a purchase agreement. And I will say, we have seen some documents in the past that they are reaching out with it started with rezoning, subdividing. I see no reason why we can't give them a six month extension if council does agree. So we're not doing anything with the land, and nobody, I think when we appraised it and advertised it, I don't think we got anybody else, that's 2 years ago, now, got any other takers, so we're gonna get.
And
good
there
chunk of
was
money.
a $25,000 non-refundable money that they put out that
Yeah.
if it fell through, we still got 25,000, which we did.
Yeah.
So I guess having said that, I'll make that motion that is written there, be it resolved that council accepts an extension for this subdivision for up to 6 months.
Seconded, so Councilor Brown, Councilor Ross, anybody else? Councilor Brown? Call for the question. All in favor? Carry. Great, so you can
Okay.
write them an email when you get the extension.
So the next one is to adjourn the tax sale. There was a tax sale rescheduled to December 15th, which the tax people didn't get the information out in time. And it wasn't advertised, but it was rescheduled to the 15th. So the motion is be it resolved that the Arm of Cornwallis adjourn the tax sale scheduled for the 15th of December to February 6th. So the new date, and further be it resolved that pursuant to 369(2), a notice of the adjournment be posted in the municipal office. So there is a posting for February 6, 2023, posted in the municipal office now. Just need to approve that resolution to reschedule the tax sale to February 6th so that the folks can get the information out to the public.
I'll make that motion that CAO, interim CAO just had read to us. Basically, it was something that really none of us were quite aware of at the time. It's been postponed, I guess, twice now.
Okay, can I have a second? Councilor Ross, so Councilor Brown makes the motion, Councilor Ross. Anybody else got any questions? Anybody, anything else? Let's move on forward. Okay, I'll call for the question. All in favor? Yep.
Okay,
Proceed.
so the RM emergency plan for emergency measures organization. So the province requires a new emergency plan yearly. It was due end of December. Wendy Peterson, our emergency coordinator, has not had a chance to make all the revisions, but the plan is to table that for tonight, but to have that emergency measures plan ready for the January meeting council on January 10th. So be it resolved that council receive the 2022 emergency plan. It's attached there. It's attached on the agenda, the 2022 plan, and requested administration to invite Wendy to the January council meeting to present the 2023 plan.
Motion. Councilor Rodan. Seconder. Councilor Maxwell, seconds. Any question there? No. Councilor Maxwell, you got any? No. Anybody else? No. All in favor?
Thank you. So the emergency plan from 2022 is there for anybody who wants to see
That's
it.
good.
The next one is the Zoom policy. Be it resolved that Councilor Ross's motion Zoom and meeting recording policy be received. And it's attached there for your viewing pleasure.
You want Make a motion, Council, and read it over for the public. Yeah. If you don't mind.
Well, I'll make a motion.
Yeah.
that if any,
Awesome. Okay. Let's have a second. Okay, Councillor Ross. And Councillor Rowe. We received as a policy. Yeah.
I think that maybe it should be read or something.
The actual,
Not the whole thing.
Well, not the whole thing, but the gist of it.
okay. That's
So
what I
that
asked.
we know what the
So-
expectation is.
Yeah,
Well, I'll read it then.
Yeah.
Be it resolved that Council of the RM Cornwallis hereby adopts the following guidelines associated with conducting regular meetings, special meetings, and public hearings. This only applies to those, it doesn't apply to committee of the whole, in-camera meetings, or any meetings that deals with confidential information. Number one, council members may participate in regular meetings, special meetings, and public hearings if they are able to satisfy section 150, paragraph 1 of the Municipal Act. Number two, all regular meetings, special meetings, and public hearings will be broadcast over the internet with no limitation as to who can view the meeting. Number three, all regular meetings, special meetings, and public hearings will be recorded and stored in YouTube for future reference. All recorded media is subject to the same retention policy that physical media receives and will be removed in accordance with that policy. And finally, the meeting link for the public use will be posted online 48 hours in advance of the meeting.
motion? You didn't, you got any questions? concerns? Opposed?
It's an administrative thing, right, Terry? Or Mr. Chairman? It's an administrative thing that needs to put that all together, correct?
Well, the CAO has been doing it for our meetings.
Yeah, so it's just a kind of a,
It's formalized.
just a formalized thing.
Anybody else?
No, if, as long as, like regular meetings, special meetings.
Yeah.
public hearings, I'm fine with that. The residents seem to really enjoy being able to chime in on TV land, I guess you want to say, and see what's going on, so. It got kind of incorporated during COVID in 2020, so I guess we have to kind of keep going with it, seeing that everybody has enjoyed it.
I'll make a comment there. I'm looking at my screen here, it's -30 out, and look at everybody, and at -30, you can view us at home versus coming to the office. And I will say, COVID actually did all this to us. With all the restrictions, we went and bought the equipment, and last summer was a couple of times when council actually was debating to shut it off. And I said, well, we've got the equipment, why would we do that? And there was some discussion. And I said, you can't do it, folks. Let's leave it on. So now with this policy, if we adopt it, now council has to push that play button. To me, there should be nothing secret.
Mr.
you and
Chairperson,
what's
just
the-
one other question when
Yeah.
you're done there. Sorry.
Yeah, so basically, just the council shouldn't come to the table when we have the equipment to see, are we gonna view that? And then a policy will basically be a requirement for the CEO to air these meetings. So that's all I got.
Yeah, I guess it would be just kind of more of an information thing. Would be to know what it really actually costs to do this Zoom meeting. I think the residents probably would like to know what it actually does cost the RM to be doing this sort of thing.
So
Yeah, the Zoom subscription was purchased last year. I'm not sure what the full Zoom, you need the full Zoom subscription. About $120 per year, just a quick search. For the Zoom,
Yeah.
that's for a subscription to Zoom that allows for, I guess, there's a bit of a range here. It could go up to $600 per year. So I just don't know exactly what we paid for, because it was paid for from the previous administration. But Zoom So for business, business plus, okay, so there's free meetings up to 40 minutes, which wouldn't work for us. There's pro $200 a year, that wouldn't work. Business 270 per year, business plus $315 per year. So there's just a difference between like, so meetings up to 30 hours per meeting would be business plus. So yeah, it's the same as 30 hours right across the board. Team chat, things like that. Cloud storage, 10 gigabytes is the upgraded one. It's only 5. So we need the cloud storage, I think. Extras, phone included. So I would think that we purchased, I don't know for sure, I'd have to check, but $315 per year would be the business plus, and I think that would be the required annual amount.
And I will say, Councilor Brown, like we've had, utilized our Zoom, talking to our legal planners in Winnipeg, the people from Vancouver yesterday we talked to.
Yeah.
So
I
I think it's,
don't disagree
it's a
with
great
anything. I
tool.
just thought that it would be nice to let people know what the actual cost of it is. It's very minute cost. Surprised, yeah. So,
Okay.
Mr. Chairperson, I just want to reiterate again the intended direction I want to go with this policy was that it aligns our operations more with the municipal act, because that's a new addition actually to the municipal act, allowing council to conduct their business remotely.
Yeah.
So, and it did come around as a result of COVID.
That's a great point there, Councilor Ross. Thanks for sharing that. So I think we have to vote on it. We have, okay.
It was a motion by Ross, seconded by Joel. Haven't had the vote yet.
Okay, yep. Okay, we'll call for the question, we'll adopt the policy. Carry. Good, thank you.
So the next point is a community rink liner. Be it resolved that council will purchase a rink liner for the community rink to a maximum of $1,000.
Awesome motion for that.
Because that's.
Councilor Rohan. So we got a motion on the floor to purchase $1,000 rink line, community rink line.
Maximum.
Oh, did you second? Oh, okay, Councilor Ross, I'm sorry. Yeah, so we'll get administration to, for the last 8-10 years, the CEO always went to Total Farm Supply. Who happens to be my brother. I would have left the room if we would have left it on there, but we removed Total Farm Supply, and it was brought to my attention. I'm not involved in the street liner. It was community, people with young children out there asked me to ask council's approval. I think that $1,000 was actually on a budget item, but we're going to ask administration to call around with whoever knows who sells these ring liners in Brandon here. Let's get the best deal. It's 80 by 100 is what they normally buy. So whoever has the best deal, let's get it and make sure Bill Dwyer knows. He's the one that usually rents the truck or gets the truck down there. So it's a community. There's people from all over the area coming. It's a skating rink out in Chambers, and it's located on in the green space of the development. So anybody else has any questions about that?
I guess just you said that this is on a line item in the 2022 budget.
Yes.
I think it was going to come out of COVID money, I believe.
I'm not sure. Almost certain is that there's a community rink $1,000. And I think last year was 800 and some bucks, but I noticed on the quote today was 920, but we should obtain 2 other quotes. Whoever sells them, I don't know. Somebody suggested Princess Auto, but I don't know who sells them, right? Hockey rink liners. That's a big target. So I got no idea. Anyways, we'll call for the question. All in favor? Anybody wants to skate, go to Chater and skate.
Okay, the next item is the CAO hiring committee. And the resolution says is be it resolved that Reeve Hofer, Councilors Maxwell, Drohan, and Deputy Reeve Ross be nominated to the CAO hiring committee.
Need a mover. Okay, Councilor Rowan, just to get it on discussion, we can always revise it. So we've got a mover, now we need a second. Okay, second. Is there any- I can explain why.
It's missing. Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, it's missing on my computer.
Which-
Maybe I'm not- I saw it earlier, but
Yeah.
it's gone now. So
Okay.
Let
Great.
me speak on this. I don't know why I'm being excluded. Well, I'll tell you. This was a email that I had got sent to me stating about that resolution. So it says, including in this, Bob, under the current reporting structure, because your son Alan reports directly to the CAO, it's perhaps in everyone's best interest for you to exclude yourself. I trust and hope you understand the situation. So anyways, I contacted my solicitor, and there is no reason that why I cannot be sitting on this hiring committee.
a reason for that is, I mean, you just heard me here 5 minutes ago. My brother owns Total Farm Supply. Just let me explain that. Public perception, Councilor Brown. So if we wouldn't have taken Total Farm Supply out of that resolution, I would have walked out. I advised Councilor Ross to take over as Deputy Reeve because of public perception. And we all know, nothing against your son, nothing against you, Councilor Brown. When you're dealing with a hiring of a CAO who, under the current structure, reports directly to the CAO, and nothing against the CAO either. So to have a father, a dad, being involved, hiring a permanent CAO when the son reports directly, I'm not a lawyer, I didn't look at law or anything. I just feel there's 4 respected elected officials here. We would have kept you in the loop, and you have been in the loop with the other 2 hirees we did. I just felt because the finger will be pointed at leadership. Why have we got a counselor whose son, and I've got nothing against the son, he's a great grader operator. Why is that? I have no problem if council chooses to include you, so be it. I just thought, just to keep things up
And
in
that's
the up,
why
so there's no
I asked-
influence.
That's why I asked the question
Yeah.
to my solicitor.
Yeah.
And there's no reason that it cannot be on this committee.
Okay,
There's no.
if you got legal
If
advice.
people wanna have the perception that it's a conflict, well, that's, I guess,
That's okay.
their perception, but my lawyer told me there's no reason that it cannot be on.
Trust that.
Mr. Chairperson, I realize I seconded the motion, but, after some thoughts, I tend to agree with Councillor Brown that he is one vote. And he's, I think he would be of use on the hiring.
I would have to check in with that as well.
Yeah,
Mr. Chairman,
okay. Can I have the motion, the mover revise the motion to include Councilor Brown?
if I will, but yes, it's nothing against. Well,
Yeah.
your son, it's just-
I get
I
that,
I get it.
but it just,
We can revise.
it soured me some.
Whoever's is the mover and the seconder, you
it.
folks are okay with a friendly amendment, I have no problem. It's okay, so
Okay, so then the amendment would be it resolved that
All
all
council
council members and Reeve be on the nominee, be on the committee to the CAO hiring committee.
okay, so everybody okay with that? Okay, and I'll just make my comment in. for the residents out there. I mean, we've got the intern tag on the interim CEO right now. We worked hard, and I do appreciate you folks, the effort that everybody put in the financial assistant and the administrative assistant. Normally, you would do the CEO first, but we needed people in the house, I always say. We got that done. Now the process for the audience out there, it's a process that we'll keep it confidential, how we're gonna go about it. We did use consultants. There was a lot of hard work, especially by one or two council members, that a lot of hours went in, and we didn't have much spare time to be calling other meetings. We saved this municipality tens of thousands of dollars by doing it ourselves. I feel very confident in the two individuals. I will feel confident we will do this without a consulting firm, and I'm confident we're gonna hire a good CEO that will serve this community well. So I'm proud of my council, what we've done. We might not agree on all things, but when it comes down to making key decisions, when the information in front of us, we'll serve you guys well. So that's
I
all I
would
have.
just like to add to, Mr. Reeves that, yes, we're never all on the same page, and that's only human dealings, but if we can work as a team, it'll be the benefit of all residents in this RM.
Councilor Brown, we will. I mean, it has been just. How is it? I didn't expect that we will get into this situation, starting the day after election, when the two employees we had left, the lights were out for 3 days. We bring in an interim CEO. It's been just tumultuous. I've enjoyed it. It's a learning curve. Could we have made more meetings? Yes, we could have had, but I've heard you folks say, we are done. We are- Yeah, more meetings, no more, folks. I would have loved to have more. There's a few other things I would have liked to dealt with. Another one is committee of the whole. We need to appoint committee members. I want to wait, folks, till we have a CEO before we select committee meetings, because I want that CEO to be part of that process. So.
Saying all that, Mr. Chairman, let's carry on, so we're
Yeah,
not
no.
here any longer.
No, I just wanted to, you brought a good point, that we're not gonna agree on everything, so I just wanted to share my thoughts out there. Anyways, we're moving on.
Do you guys want to hug it out first, or should we vote?
Yep, no, we'll take it to a go vote, so all in favor? Great. Yeah, we need to inform the residents out there what's happening with the hiring, because I'm getting text messages and phone calls, inquiries, right?
I've got
Yeah.
two inquiries.
Go ahead.
I know then this will be something for January. It's not that we want to be supposed to Christmas and all that sort of stuff.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry, I missed it. Because it's not on here.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, actually, it's my mistake. I'm going on here and it's on a piece of paper. There's the additions to the agenda. Well, what's next there on?
Well, the
Meeting of January.
request for January.
Yes.
And that's the only thing we missed, because the tax sale was on there, my report was on there, and the rest is in. And the fire agreement is is in Canada.
Yeah. So I would like somebody to make a motion to move the January, the normal January the 17th meeting up 1 week to January the 10th. The reason being, I'm out of town on company business, so I would just appreciate if council would accept that request.
Yeah.
Okay, we've got them over, Mr. Groveman and Councilor Ross. So yeah, it's company business that I tried to talk myself or company out of it, but no, they want me to go and do some training and come back to the plant and do some training myself, so. Yeah. Anybody else got questions? What I will do is we're gonna try to maybe have a meeting before that on the accounts, maybe like a special meeting before that on the accounts, and we'll get Tracy to come and help us on that. It's the second Tuesday of the month, so we'll try to make it worthwhile. The reason I picked that second Tuesday versus the last, if there's any other issues that arise early January, we can also call a council meeting at the last week there, so I'll be gone for a few days. That's the reason. I appreciate you guys. Yeah, anybody else got a question, concern? All in favor? Okay, so you want to change that on our website, ASAP, because it's normally the third Tuesday. So just advertise it right away. That meeting has been moved up, just to give everybody a heads up. Thanks, James. Okay, so,
Inquiries. So,
yeah.
Inquiries.
Yep, okay, go ahead. Councilor Brown, sorry.
I would like to see, I guess it's an inquiry or whatever you want to call it, but it's to get the garbage contract started on the roll. For roadside
Reviewing it?
pickup, reviewing it. I don't know whether anything has to be resent out to get quotations. Or if it's sitting on our
Well, we
table.
have the quotations ready, but when I first started, I was asked to get an extension on the current contract for 6 months because we didn't have staff in place and things were pretty chaotic.
Don't understand that, just if we could.
Actually, I'm glad you brought that up. Can we
Go ahead.
discuss that? Brings up a good point. Are the envelopes still sealed? Okay, so they're still sealed. They were delivered to me, so I gave them to the CEO. I asked them to keep them sealed, which they are. What I don't know if we included, I'd really like for us to, and I like it, we need to get rolling. I'd like to see other areas included, but I'd like to meet as a committee of the whole. We might get better pricing, if, let's say, if we do include other areas. That's what I'm thinking, if you're thinking along the same line.
Well, I know we did send out kind of basically a questionnaire thing to Grand Valley, but we did understand that some people did not get that letter. But to be added in, I think you have to have 60%. Is that not correct in favor for a public?
I'm not sure it's 60. There is.
There is an
Yeah.
amount.
There is a amount.
So, but anyways, as long as we get that on the go, because like I had mentioned before, there's inadequate service happening and it makes it harder to plow roads too when the garbage bins are sitting out for a couple of days. And I think that actually happened this past snowfall, so. That's one, and my other inquiry would be about when in January could we maybe get this gravel meeting?
When you say gravel, you're talking about
About
aggregate bylaw.
the aggregate, where I would like to see the residents and the pit owners. Stakeholders.
Staples, okay. What I would like to do is, we've got one quote that I'll forward it to you, but I would really appreciate it. It's confidential information. Because it's a competing company that's competing with two other ones. Look at it. I've read it. That's where I got the price from. I've reached out to two other engineering firms in Brandon. I've told them they have to have it to us in early January. And our lawyer is in total agreement what we're doing here. He's gonna check some wording, what are our rights and all that. And once we have those quotes, I'd like for council to sit down in confidence, and if we could either do a Zoom or a presentation, which technology we want to go with, that I think we can then engage the public, pit owners and the residents. And I think I'd like to do it early January. It will all depends when those two other quotes.
I would say anytime in January
Yep.
would be good.
Early the
I
better.
know there's lots of stuff on
Yep.
our dockets that we
Yep.
have to deal with, but as long as we can
Mr. Chair.
deal with it sooner rather than later.
I think I like Councilor Brown's idea of having the meeting before, like, let's not put the cart before the horse.
Yeah.
Let's meet, because maybe one of the stakeholders has an even better idea.
let's pick a date right now, folks. If everybody's here,
We don't have to pick a date, right?
No, but no, I'm in favor. If you guys don't feel like
But
you need,
sometime.
I want a data. Like,
Yeah, and.
we've got one. I guess we could use that.
Even if towards the end of January, if we have the meeting then, we're gonna have the information from your quotes.
you know.
And that'll give.
Oh,
these
into
people
January.
time to
Oh, I
brainstorm.
might have had it on before that. I was
That'll
actually
give these
thinking-
people time to brainstorm and come to that meeting with some ideas.
Well, what I was thinking is if we get us educated, what technology, because I'll have questions, or we all should have, how accurate is it? These are the things before we tell the people or get their hopes up, this is gonna work. So, but the two companies that I talked to, they're very confident it's gonna work, but, yeah, I'm open to, why don't we shoot, was it last week in January, be okay?
Yeah, if Gene can scribble it down
Yeah.
sometime in the last
Week.
week. or
Yes, the last
10
week,
days of
let's,
January.
and I'll actually, now that we've picked a week, I will reach out to those two companies and we need it because we need the language.
Is this a meeting of like,
In public engagement, reading.
An informal meeting.
would be invited?
We will put it out on the internet.
Get, like, I don't think we need to have a whole swarm of people. It would be if the gravel pit owners want to have 3 of their people that they would like to.
We have to invite those people out there because those are the affected people. I want
And
that
whatever
whole-
residents,
Every
Yeah.
resident, we need to put it out on Facebook.
and
And
that's where Zoom comes in.
exactly, they don't have to come here. Yeah, no, that's a great.
So,
I'd like a presentation about the technology. I mean, that's what I'm hoping for, so people understand
but
what we're dealing with here.
we don't want it to be. How should I say it? We don't want it to be a shit show.
No, absolutely not. We want it as information. We'll,
To put it mildly.
well,
I want to have good information come out.
and
of
that's
it.
not the right language in a council.
No,
meeting,
well,
Council Brown.
That's the only word that I could come up with.
Yeah, well, no, we don't want an argument.
Sorry for the,
But I think to stop the arguments, and that's my reasons why I didn't want this meeting yet, we need to show the residents and the pit owners the numbers that we have, look at what we're looking at, and then just open it up and say, folks, this is what we're dealing with. And I don't think you can argue with numbers, but anyway, that's a good point. I'll work with you, James, with the companies. So anything else there?
no, that's good for me. Other than just saying that the graders, snowplows got over the roads quite quickly. I think they've done like 2.5 times around the whole RM, which translates to about over 1,200 miles of pitch miles.
Mhm.
So they were busy.
Yeah, well, that's good. And I'll just add a comment here. I requested, before the snow flew, I requested from 3 companies emergency snow plowing quotations, not agreements, quotations, and 2 out of the 3 submitted them. I forwarded to the CEO. The reason I did that, last year, I believe it was our neighboring municipality to the west, Whitehead, they had issues mechanically. We've only got 2 employees. So with COVID around, I think it's just due diligence that we need a backup if we need it. We did sign an agreement. One of our employees, my understanding is he lives out of town. So if you're snow state, we gotta have a backup plan. Don't have to use it, but we got.
He lives in town now.
Oh, does he? Okay, I didn't know that. But anyways, I think it's just good business that we have a backup plan, and there's laws in Manitoba, the maximum hours that you can work. I think we owe it to our employees. Yeah, they probably like the overtime. At the end of the day, if there's a maximum amount of hours, we need to tell them that's the hours you can work. If there's roads that need to be plowed, it'll be up to the CEO to dispatch the emergencies. And we got a backup plan. We haven't used it. I hope we don't have to use them. But I don't want council to think, oh, we're going to contract it out. No, I think we have to do due diligence, and our people out there, I always say I can live with washboards because we can go out the next day or 2 days. But in the wintertime, folks, so it's very important that we try to keep those roads open so people aren't stranded in the middle of the winter in the snow bank. So that's, I just want to clarify to council. I think it was a misunderstanding. I want to contract out snow clearing. No, that was not the intent. So anybody else, with any more inquiries? Okay. I'll ask for the favor question. Well,
yeah, now it would go.
We
into
just,
camera.
motion to do the camera.
motion to go into camera. Okay, I'll have a motion to go into camera. Is that you, Council Brown? Sure. You making a motion to
I
go into
need,
camera?
I need the motion.
Thank
to
you.
do the
Your
camera.
name?
I have a second.
Oh, hi, Vicky.
There should know one other.
Yeah, thank you for coming.
So we've got Councilor Brown as the mover and Councilor Druhan, the second to go in camera. Yes.
Just to go to a camera.
Thanks, folks.
Yeah, I'm gonna turn off